All right. Well, welcome everybody. So glad you could join us today. Just wanted to start off with some introductions as we jump into our Atlassian Intelligence webinar. And so, with that, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Sam Ayres. I'm a delivery manager and Atlassian certified expert. I'll be talking about Atlassian Intelligence kind of just more on a grand scale and then also doing some feature demonstrations later. And I'm joined by Joshua.demetri. And Joshua, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a software development manager at Valiantys. I work with our custom solutions team, and we spend a lot of time implementing AI and especially Atlassian Intelligence and Rovo into customer systems and kind of building out a solution that makes sense for any client.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. All right. Well, with that, just real quick before we jump into things, just want to talk about us as Valiantys as a company and just share a few things about us. So, as you see here, we're 100% dedicated to the Atlassian ecosystem. We're a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year, which we're really proud of. We're Atlassian's first global partner, so something also we're very proud of. And then we've got 24/7 global coverage with over 600 team members, and then 65 of the global Fortune 500 companies work with us. So just some quick statistics and things about us just to be aware of. And then maybe not more importantly, but just dovetailing with that, we are a Platinum Solutions partner with Atlassian. And so essentially what that means is our company as a whole has a deep understanding of Atlassian's products as well as experience implementing and customizing these products for our client. And so that also means that we provide a series of services like the ones you see here: consulting, licensing, integration and development, managed services, and in training. And specifically with training, we provide extensive training programs, including webinars like the one you're attending now. We offer what's called the Jira Bootcamp for Jira software, Jira service management, and then Confluence. And then also, most recently, Jira Align. And all these boot camps are designed for Jira admins that need kind of the next level of admin support within those tools that I just mentioned. And then kind of our secret sauce as a company is our custom development wing, which Joshua represents here today. And essentially, our in-house software developers create customized solutions spanning from app development to crafting unique user interfaces. And the idea being that if the solution you need doesn't exist natively within the Atlassian ecosystem, we can help with that and create a reality there for you guys. So Joshua is going to get into a little bit or an example of that a little bit later on. So that's enough about us, but if you have any other questions about the services we provide, please don't hesitate to ask questions later on. We're going to have a Q&A session. It's also just a friendly reminder as we move through the content, feel free to throw any questions you have in the chat or the QA section, and we'll try to get those at the end. We try to leave anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes at the end to address those. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about, what is Atlassian Intelligence, cover some of the pricing information, do some demonstrations of some of the more prominent features, and then also talk about some features that are coming down the pipeline. And then Joshua is going to jump into Atlassian Intelligence kind of on the custom solutions side of things. We'll cover some, just very briefly, upcoming webinars that we have that you might also be interested in. And then, like I said, just some time for Q&A. All right. So with any webinar, I really try to answer the question, Atlassian Intelligence, what is it? How does it work? And then really, honestly, why should you care? And so Atlassian Intelligence, just on a whole, helps teams accelerate work, increase efficiency, and provide value faster using artificial intelligence. That's kind of the broad stroke definition of what it really tries to accomplish. So for example, within Jira and Jira products as a whole, it allows you to generate and transform content, summarize critical details within issue views or Confluence pages, and then find the work that you need fast. And then it does much more. Those are kind of broad stroke, just examples. It leverages artificial intelligence developed internally from OpenAI. It uses what Atlassian refers to as the teamwork graph, which is unique to your team's project or service work, along with internal language models and OpenAI to deliver results specific to your organization's context. So just kind of addressing how does it work? It combines state-of-the-art models developed by OpenAI with the power and data inside the Atlassian platform, just kind of going back to your organization's context. This means that Atlassian provides a native artificial intelligence experience that is contextual to you, your teams, your workflows, all in a way that respects the privacy of your data. And that's actually a perfect segue into what I wanted to address next, which is something we hear about a lot, which are just kind of the technology and data security concerns that kind of just fall with Atlassian or AI in general, but with no exception, Atlassian Intelligence. So just wanted to point out it's opt-in only at the org admin level. So in other words, an org admin must intentionally switch Atlassian Intelligence on. And also it's important to note too that you can switch on Atlassian Intelligence on a tool by tool basis. So that means you can have it just, for example, turned on for Confluence. Maybe you need to be able to clean up Confluence content quickly, but you don't necessarily want anybody fumbling around with Atlassian Intelligence features in your Jira software projects. It allows that granular flipping on and off on a product by product basis. Inputs aren't stored. So none of the inputs or outputs from AI are stored or used by Atlassian or their partners to train their models. Can't stress that enough. So inputs and outputs in this case refer to data users are typing into Atlassian products, which are in turn analyzed by Atlassian Intelligence. None of those are stored. It respects permissions, and I want to just clearly state that that means Jira permissions or Confluence permissions, for example, and data residency. So for example, Atlassian Intelligence is going to respect whether or not you have access for the issues you might be searching for if you're using the search function. That's just one example of many. And then all data is processed and transmitted in accordance with Atlassian's privacy policy, data processing addendum, and then also GDPR commitment. Doesn't currently support SOC 2, ISO 27001 or HIPAA. However, SOC 2 and ISO support are expected to be supported by the end of the year. So just something to keep in mind. And then last but not least, it leverages OpenAI, which we've kind of already talked about a little bit. Real quickly, let's talk about some pricing and packaging options. Just something to be aware of. It's available in cloud only. So you don't get Atlassian Intelligence in data center or server instances. And then it's only available, for premium and enterprise users. So something also to take into consideration. And then currently there's no limits on usage. We expect that to change in the future, but we don't have an exact date on that yet. Okay, as promised, let's go ahead and jump into some of the features. Specifically, we're going to look at Jira and Confluence. And with that, I've created a Jira work management project and then also kind of an adjoining Confluence space for a fictional marketing team that's trying to do some marketing campaigns for Atlassian Intelligence. So just trying to give you some context for some of the demonstrations that I'm doing here. So the first thing, and I think I mentioned this earlier, Atlassian Intelligence allows you to generate and transform content. I would say this is probably the number one thing that folks are using it for right now. And so that means you can create content based on a prompt, rephrase content, or also restructure it, as you would imagine. Excuse me. So let's look at an example of each of these. So let me jump into this AMC4 issue. And we have our description here: upgrade to billing system now requires us to launch a new marketing campaign. That's fine and all, but let's try to expand on this a little bit, because this description doesn't really tell us how we're going to go about carrying out this task. So let's say, let's add some ideas for how to approach leveraging social media for a marketing campaign, which is what we're trying to accomplish as a team. I hit enter. We have our generating ellipses. And then here you can see a bunch of different options that kind of get us off to the races and what we might want to do to kind of carry this task out. We click insert, And then it goes ahead and appends what we already have. So it doesn't necessarily replace, which is kind of nice. Let's try rephrasing some content. So we can either maybe rephrase this description, for example. So we can go in here and we can say, let's improve our writing, for example. To upgrade to our new billing system now necessitates, we get a $20 word, necessitates the initiation of a new marketing campaign. So let's say we like that text and we can replace it. And so you can see the point being, in seconds, we can kind of restructure or rephrase this content rather quickly. And then also too, for example, let's say I want to restructure this as maybe a numbered list. So if I highlight all of this, and let's say, let me go here and let's type in, let's see what this does. Make this a numbered list. Perfect. So maybe I don't like bullets, but I want to do numbers. I can hit insert or replace, which is kind of nice. So if I don't want to overwrite everything, I've got the option to insert below, but in this case, I want to replace. So you can see in seconds, we have a much more actionable issue for our team that gives them a vision for what we're trying to accomplish for this particular task. Everything's worded nicely, grammatically correct, etc. So very quickly, I want to show you a couple of just extra features that I'm personally excited about as a Jira admin, and one of those is automation rule creation. So if I go to project settings here, I'm going to go into automation. You can see here when AI is flipped on, I've got this button up here that says create with AI. I can interact with it. And just to save some time, and so you guys don't have to watch me fumble through my own typing, let's create a rule that I think a project manager would really like to use. And this is one that we often implement for our clients as well. So when all subtasks are completed, add a comment to the parent letting the assignee know. So we're just kind of telling a story with what we want to do with the rule. I hit enter is all I need to do after I've typed it in. And it's thinking. And then ultimately my screen resolves to this rule here. And quite honestly, looking at this rule, there's not really much that I need to do to it. There is some cases where I've tested this where the prompt gets you about 90% there, and I want to show you an example of that now. So if I go back to return to templates, I don't want to necessarily commit that rule. Let's do something a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to copy all this in again just to save some time here. Okay, and let's go back over here. So a little bit more complicated of a rule. When an issue type of marketing asset is created and social media is in the issue summary, add the social media label and create a subtask under the same issue with target influencers in the issue summary. Let's see what it does. See if it's able to do it. So thinking a little bit longer. Okay, cool. So we've got our issue triggering event. We've got a couple of conditions as we would expect. Marketing type asset, good. Summary contains social media, exactly what we want. We're editing the issue label field with our label. It even caught our social_media label, which is nice. The only thing it fails on is adding the summary to the subtask. So that's okay. That's kind of a variable ask. And ultimately, this rule is pretty much done with the exception of just adding the summary that we need there. So again, just showing you an example of a rule that's pretty much ready to go out the door. And then also a rule that needs a little bit of TLC, but really honestly gets you about 90% there. And then also, just before we jump to Confluence, just another functionality that I think is really, really helpful is the issues search. And so if we go to view all issues, what we can do is click into our search box here. Oh, you know what? I'm not seeing. Let me go back up here. That's odd. I'm not seeing my Atlassian Intelligence option there, which is okay. Okay. Well, if you have any questions about issue search, I can share that with you guys maybe after the call. There should be an AI button up here that I can interact with, but I don't see it at this time, which is funny. Okay, well, with that, let's jump over to Confluence just for the sake of time. So like what we saw in the Jira Atlassian Intelligence features, Confluence, or at least Atlassian Intelligence in Confluence, allows one to generate and transform content in the exact way, based on a prompt, rephrasing the content, restructuring. There's some really cool things that it can do that I hope to demonstrate today. So we're in our marketing, or our Atlassian Intelligence marketing Confluence space. And just for a moment, even though this is a marketing team space, I just wanted to show you something that I think is pretty powerful. Let's pretend we're a development team about to jump into Agile Scrum ceremonies. And as a Scrum Master, I might be, or it might be helpful to have an outline for what the ceremonies are going to look like that my team can kind of follow, or just having an outline for them. So with that, let's create content based on a prompt here. So if I go into create a page, and if I go up to this write button, let's say, let's try create an outline for Scrum ceremonies. See what it does. Wow. Yeah, so in seconds, it gives me a full outline that I could use. I click insert, and then I get my page. And actually, technically, I could take the copy this into my page title, publish, and then I've got a page that I could use almost right away. Now, going back to my marketing example, let's try this. Let's go into a page and also say write, and let's say provide steps to develop a grassroots marketing campaign. Let's see what we get. So you can see in seconds, you have some text and an outline that you could take to a meeting almost right away and interact with just after some minor tweaks. Let's take a look at rephrasing some content. Let's go up to let's go to our top page here, actually. Let's scroll to the bottom. So maybe this text here is a little negative sounding for our taste. We're losing customers. Maybe we want to lighten the mood a little bit. If I click edit on my page and highlight it, we can say improve writing, or we can go to our Atlassian Intelligence button and we can change the tone. So let's say we want to sound a little bit more empathetic. So instead of losing customers, we're facing challenges. So it just shows you very quickly, you could change the voice of a message very, very quickly. One thing that I think is really helpful for me as somebody who leads projects for engagements is pulling action items out of meeting notes. So this was actually a feature that I was really excited about. You can see I've got some really messy kind of cryptic notes that maybe only make sense to me. If I go in and edit this page, I can highlight all the text here, or even just a subset of them. And I can click my Atlassian Intelligence button and then click this Find Action Items button. And it's going to analyze all the text and then basically determine what it believes to be some action items. And quite honestly, it looks pretty good. Deliver solutions designed to the team, gather their requirements, constraints for implementing the tool. It's really, really helpful. And then I can click Insert Below. And then I have all these action items that are already using the action items macro within Confluence. Pretty neat. So I can go ahead and click Update, and you're good to go. One thing too, just real quickly, and then we can move on to our coming soon kind of feature summary, is that there are two options to summarize text. So on an already published page, you can summarize. Let's say you've got a mile long or several page long Confluence page. You can click the Summarize button that gives you kind of the Cliff Notes version up at the top. Juxtaposed to when I'm actually editing a page, I can highlight the text and then also click Atlassian Intelligence and then click summarize writing. And it gives me a summary of that selection while I'm editing. And so that might be a way to kind of clean up text, make your messaging more succinct, kind of use it as you will, but the sky's kind of the limit. Okay, let's jump back to our presentation here. And I want to talk about just some of the features that are coming soon. So everything you see is for Jira and Confluence. And actually, I'll zoom out just a little bit so we can get this all on one page. There we go. And so we've got Jira features that are available today that you see on the left. And then what we have coming soon is the ability to reference Jira tickets and prompts, and then also be able to reformat Jira issue descriptions. And then on the Confluence side, a lot more coming down the pipeline, some exciting stuff. Readability suggestions, understanding recent and important changes in pages, brainstorming, summarize a whiteboard. I find that one actually really fascinating. Would like to see that kind of played out in practice. And then also converting a whiteboard into a page. You can see that being very helpful. And so there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline here. All of these changes are actually documented out in Atlassian support documentation. So just also something to be aware of here as well. Okay, now with that, I would like to throw it over to Joshua, who is going to be talking about JSM kind of on a high level, and then also delving into some custom solutions pieces that are tied to Atlassian Intelligence. So Joshua, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks, Sam. So I am going to talk a little bit about how Atlassian Intelligence plays into Jira Service Management, and then we'll go into that custom solutions side of the conversation as well. So what I want to talk about here is what you'll probably see around the ecosystem as JSM agents. So Atlassian Intelligence includes this JSM agents concept, and this is really a customer-facing agent that we're talking about here. I'll talk a little bit later about Rovo, which is also a newer Atlassian product that goes along with AI. And that is kind of internal facing version of an agent that you can build inside of your instance. For JSM, we're talking about customer facing agents here. So you can create a custom agent, and that agent, it's called a virtual agent in JSM, is going to basically, as you chat with it through service requests, be able to categorize the intent of those requests. And essentially, you can see in this diagram here, which came from Atlassian, that if the intent is a high level of confidence to match with a certain type of request, then it's going to be able to match that correctly and then probably take some action without having to have any human interaction at all, or at least categorize that correctly. So essentially, we're using AI to enhance what we're doing with JSM and with the tools that we have already with service management, but to make it easier to categorize and manage things as we move forward through the process. So that's kind of the brief overview of the customer facing side of using AI and kind of building those agents. Like I said, I'll talk about Rovo in a couple minutes here, and that'll be the internal facing kind of a AI teammate kind of version of using AI in Atlassian tools. What I want to do next is kind of go beyond the work management and service management side of the conversation, talk a little bit about custom solutions. So like we talked about with my introduction earlier, I am from our custom solutions team. I work with our full stack development team to build applications and integrations and add-ons to the Atlassian ecosystem, especially in cloud. And AI presents a wonderful opportunity for us in that space because it allows us to, utilizing Atlassian Intelligence, get a lot of power through these AI tools that every organization wants. Kind of a buzzword right now to have AI in your tool stack. But we can do that utilizing Atlassian Intelligence and remove a lot of the burden from our teams and our organization and be able to accomplish that much easier and much more quickly and in a more powerful way, more integrated into our work management tools as well. I'm going to start with this first slide here, talking about custom solutions and showing two different diagrams, kind of the old way and with Atlassian Intelligence, what this looks like. So if we look at the old way, this is really just outlining what it would look like today if you were wanting to build AI functionality on top of all of your data. So we have Jira, Confluence, Jira Align, Enterprise Insights. We have our custom apps as well. The vast majority of especially larger enterprise grade, applications and organizations are going to be in this space where you have custom apps, you have external sources, maybe you have other ITSM tools, maybe you have other SaaS products, and you want to integrate those into your AI tooling. So now we need to build kind of some layer in between our Atlassian products, our non-Atlassian products, and the AI tools we're utilizing to tie them all together. So in the middle here, this gray box is essentially everything you would have to build in order to get AI insights and AI tools on top of the Atlassian stack along with your external tooling as well. So talking about in that custom solution space, how do we get AI integrated with that? You would have to build some sort of custom data store. So you're gonna have a database that's storing all of your information, keeping track of that info. All the data is being stored locally, probably on premise at your organization in that scenario. It's a lot of infrastructure overhead. You have to build some sort of application. So you need a team here to build an application to actually manage the prompting. So in Atlassian Intelligence, like Sam showed, we can just click a button on an issue and prompt it and get feedback from AI. We have to actually build an app to do that if we wanted to do that custom without using Atlassian Intelligence. And then you'd have to have the AI prompting and processing, and this maybe would be like OpenAI or some other tool. And this is going to be something you have to implement yourself. So just showing that without Atlassian Intelligence, in order to get all of these things tied together, we need to build a lot of infrastructure, and it's going to be expensive, and it's going to take a lot of our team's time. There are these custom layers. There's no direct integration as well. So I can't just go into Jira and hit a button and now I'm talking with AI. It's going to be a lot more of a process. It's not as integrated. So with Atlassian Intelligence on the right, how does this actually look? And you'll notice that that whole gray box just disappears. So there is now direct integration to our Atlassian tools. So we can go into Jira, we can go into Confluence, we can go everywhere in our Atlassian tool stack and utilize AI directly. And we also don't have to build any of that infrastructure, and we can lean on the security mindset that Atlassian has towards your data. So now it is no longer on the probably 3 different teams managing the parts of our old process. We can rely on Atlassian to handle the security there with their their own models that are being run internally to Atlassian, along with their relationship with OpenAI and the deal they have there to keep everything segregated off of other people's servers and other people's models. Now, what you're going to lose from this implementation, as you can kind of start to see, is there's no line connecting your custom apps and your external sources into the Atlassian data and into AI insights now. So how do we get that back? And this is really calling out the fact that, out of the box Atlassian Intelligence is for your Atlassian tools, and it is for, kind of taking action on that data. But how do we go from having Atlassian tools get all the AI insights and all the AI tools to everything in the entire organization benefiting from those tools? And that's where we're going to be utilizing something that is called Forge. So I'm not going to go super in depth about what Forge is, but Forge is going to be the development platform for Atlassian Cloud. So if you're building any sort of custom solutions or doing development against the cloud environment, you will be utilizing Forge to do that. And Forge allows us to connect our custom apps and our external sources and maybe those other SaaS products, get the data from those products, bring them into the Atlassian world, and now Atlassian Intelligence will have access to them. So what this is going to accomplish for us is we no longer need to build our own custom layer for processing that data, no custom data store, all of that gray section of the previous screen where we had to build that ourselves, that's gone. We get all the same benefit because now our external sources and custom applications are still connected to our Atlassian data and to Atlassian Intelligence. So we're essentially utilizing Forge as a way to supplement the data set of our Atlassian tools in order to get the AI tools that Atlassian provides us to be able to access all of that information. Now, another way that we can accomplish this will be with Rovo, and I'll show that in a couple slides here. But this is kind of the first way we're going to be looking at implementing custom solutions and all of the needs of your organization beyond just the work management, service management needs that you might get out of Jira, Confluence, JSM. So if I go ahead and move on to the next slide, I want to show an example of an area where we have done this internally at Valiantys. We actually built this app for a customer. So it was a major auto manufacturer that wanted to manage the fleet of their vehicles and they wanted to be able to go onto a screen, reserve a vehicle, and have that be a process that a user could follow at like a dealership per se. Now, in this scenario, they wanted it to look like just any other custom app, right? They don't want somebody to be going in and being like, okay, I'm going to a Jira project to go reserve this vehicle. The end user of this app was not a Jira admin or really even a Jira user. They were just somebody at a dealership that needed to reserve a vehicle. So we built for them using Forge, a custom application that runs on top of Atlassian, but it kind of has its own window. And we could actually run this as a JSM portal, which is the way that we tend to use this now, where you go and you access it, and it just looks like a regular application. You have no idea that's really connected to Atlassian if you just look at the interface. But as you use the interface, all of the data behind the scenes is stored in JSM assets, and it's stored as Jira tickets as well. So what you'll be able to go through and kind of find if you were to look at the instance that has this application running on it is there is an asset schema for all of these vehicles. And in this case, they're UFOs for our demo site. And all those vehicles are stored as JSM assets. And then there are requests in JSM, as you can see by this image here, for when somebody's reserving one of these vehicles. So when you hit that reserve button, it creates a request. So essentially, we have utilized Jira and JSM and Confluence and kind of the Atlassian stack of products as the database and as the backend for our custom solutions. So what that's going to give us in terms of AI is that now, because all of our data is being stored in Atlassian servers, it's being stored in JSM assets and in a JSM project. Well, now we can use Atlassian Intelligence against that. So the AI searching features now will allow me to say, okay, go find all of the vehicles that have been reserved the most in the past year. And I can ask it that question, get a good response based on the AI's ability to understand that natural language and go search through all the issues and understand the context of them. And it'll be able to look at the data for our application, because our application actually uses Jira and JSM as the backend for that data. Now, going further than that, we can kind of integrate things like Rovo, and like we'll talk about in a second, as well as some of the content creation features of Atlassian Intelligence. We can actually implement those with other UI elements and have different things to expand into, have automations take place using AI that could play into our application as well. Lots of things that are possible here, but this is kind of just an introduction to the concept of utilizing Atlassian Intelligence to enhance what you're doing with your custom solutions and custom apps and custom interfaces. So if I go ahead and keep moving on, we get to this what about Rovo slide. Now, if you've been around the Atlassian ecosystem for a little bit, you've probably heard the word Rovo by now. And it was just a couple weeks ago for Team 24 Europe that we got the announcement of Rovo going into general availability. We've actually been using Rovo for a good little while now at Valiantys. We had early access to the product so that we could play around with it and understand how to use it for our customers. So we've been building demos and kind of doing lots of things with it for a while, but now it's generally available. And Rovo is going to act as an addition to the AI tools provided by Atlassian. So Atlassian Intelligence is a feature that exists on top of your current products, while Rovo is its own independent product. So Rovo is actually going to be its own product that lives separately, where you normally see like Jira, Confluence, and like Jira Line maybe. You would also see an entry for Rovo. It's going to be its own separate product. And Rovo allows you to create basically teammates that are AI teammates on your project. So rather than like JSM agents where you're doing things that are customer facing, external facing, Rovo is going to act as an AI teammate with automations, with context of your data, and allow you to utilize that throughout the application. So in this diagram here, you can kind of see I've outlined a couple different areas, but Rovo is going to consist of kind of three main parts I called out here: chat, search, and custom agents. So chat is going to be the basic. It's kind of like your chat GPT, but with Atlassian context. So chat is going to allow you to ask it questions about the data in your Atlassian sites. So you can say, give me information about this ticket, and it'll go find that ticket and give you information about it. Or you can have it search for things. You can basically do anything you can do with ChatGPT. Plus, you can have it ask questions about your data and not be, searching the random, internet for that information. It'll actually search your data instead. Now, then we're going to have search. search is going to actually allow you to search across not just your Atlassian tools, but everything across your organization. So search allows you to have a single search box basically to search things like Jira, Confluence, but also things like Google Docs or other SaaS products. So maybe you're going out to SharePoint or Google Docs or some other tool like that, where you also have some of your knowledge stored. So rather than just searching Confluence, you can actually search all of your organization's tools, pull those all together, search them at once. So Robo Search is a pretty cool thing there. They have some built-in connectors for those external tools. You can find documentation for that as well. And then custom agents are really where the custom solutions side of the conversation comes in. Custom agents allow us to build different ways for AI to act as a teammate, but also as an automation engine or as a context-driven a chat bot for our instance. So a custom agent can be used in the chat interface. I'll show an example of that here in a second, but it can also be used in automations and in a couple other areas to kind of tie into your external tools. You'll see through Rovo and through Forge together, we can create this structure where Rovo is going to connect along with Forge to the rest of our organization, including the custom apps, integrations, external systems, reporting dashboards, data sources that are in other SaaS products. These are all things now that we can have access to from our AI tools with Atlassian Intelligence and with Rovo. So what I want to do first is kind of go to an example and just show you what Rovo looks like. This, we can talk about it forever, but it's good to just actually see what it can do. So if I just go ahead and pull up this project here, you'll see I have this legal team 1 project. So this is a JSM project, and it's supposed to represent a legal team that wants some AI help to understand their instance. So you'll notice that over here I had this side panel under chat. So this is Rovo Chat. Rovo Chat, this is kind of like the default screen here. It's just a basic chat like ChatGPT, and it has no specific requests being made behind the scenes for it. There's no specific prompt. You can just ask it anything, and it'll have context of your data. But I can go through here. If I go to browse agents here, you can actually see I've created a whole bunch of different custom agents. The one I want to talk about is this legal assistant custom agent. So on our diagram, this was the custom agent section, and legal assistant is an agent that I created to help this legal team understand the context of specific cases that they're dealing with. So you'll see through this project, we have things about like the Jones family, the Smith case, the Hernandez case. We have all these different cases, and they're all in the same project. They're not necessarily tagged correctly. So it's hard to search for everything about the Smith case, for example. But as somebody on this legal team, maybe I just need to see everything that's upcoming for the Smith case and then take action on those items. So I created an agent now that if I say, help me with the Smith case, what it's going to do is actually search through every single issue and send back just the things about the Smith case. Now, the important part of this, as you can see, I have these issues, is that these issues are not actually given the context with like labels or components or anything like that. It's just in the summary of the ticket and in the description as well. So for example, if I go to this review contract for the Smith case ticket, you'll notice that I don't have any sort of categorization actually happening, no labels, nothing like that. But it says the Smith family in the description. It says the Smith case in the summary. And that is enough for the AI to know that that is part of the Smith case. So now it shows up as part of my list. Now I can go even further than that and even say, which task should I do first? And if I do that, what it's going to do is return review the contract for the Smith case, because it's going to tell me that anything with the contract is crucial because everything else requires the contract to be signed. This is actually another thing that I added to the prompt and to the details of this legal assistant, telling it that anything that has to do with the contract is always top priority. So now it has that context to give me the correct answer and respond to me with that correct idea of the contract should be the first thing that you do before you do the other work. So this is really powerful. And as you can see, it's just context of the issues, not any sort of manual process. But we can actually go even further than this and go into automations. And I've built, using a robo agent, an automation that will auto prioritize my issues. So that same concept of I want an issue to be top priority if it has the contract as part of it. So if it needs to go deal with a contract for a case. we're going to use an automation to just automatically assign a high priority to any issues that have a contract in the description or in the summary. So in your regular automation engine, you can even have built this automation like Sam showed earlier with Atlassian Intelligence. You can create an automation that goes through and let's say when an issue is created, then I'm going to use a robo agent. This is the new piece here. So using my robo agent, I basically tell it which agent to use. So I have this other agent I've created. It's a second agent, this legal request prioritizer agent. And then I give it a prompt. And what I've created this legal request prioritizer agent to do is it will always return a single word answer. And it's going to be either low, medium, or high. So I've actually told this agent always return the word low, the word medium, the word high. And I'm going to pass into it the summary and the description of the issue that I want to be asking it about. So whenever the issue is created, I use smart values to pass in the summary and the description. This is just part of the automation tool set. We can certainly help kind of do some more information on that if you want to learn more about automations. What we can do now from the robo agent is in the rest of my automation, I have this smart value called agent response. And agent response is going to be what I got back from that robo agent in a value here. So now if this comes back as low, then I'm going to be setting the priority of my field to the priority low. So I've actually now set this up. So if I go and create an issue, and let's say I want to do a question for legal, I want to say, help me get a signed contract for the Hernandez case, for example. And it'll require a description as well. Let's say, get me some help on this. The priority is medium. So that's the important thing here. I'm not changing that priority here. I'm just going to hit create. I'm going to view this issue. And as I look at that priority, once this loads here, it's medium right now. Give it a second to run. And this should go ahead and bump up to a high priority once it kind of scans through it. Refresh and see if we'll do that. It doesn't seem to like this one. Let me see if I can do another one. All right, let's do this one now. Yeah, and as you can see, AI is always a little bit of a toss-up, and this is why, when we implement this across the board, we will recommend that you have some other automations and tools in place. Make sure that maybe this agent is not currently running. I might have actually turned off this automation. But there we go. This one did work. So now I have a high priority here because it said the contract in the description. Likely what happened there is that because I only had that in the summary of the previous ticket, it didn't have enough context. It didn't know enough about this ticket to give it a high priority. But in this case, I have that priority as high. So what we can do with this automation now, and this is kind of a very basic example that I basically created in an afternoon for this demo. You can see that you can implement these AI tools and AI knowledge, AI insights on top of your instance, on top of your automations, tie into the tools that already exist, and create these really powerful engines. So now this was prioritized as a high priority, despite the fact that I did not do that manually based on the information of this agent. Now, if I actually go and show you a little bit about where that agent is defined, I think that'll be helpful to outline a little bit of how this process works as well. So if I go to browse agents again, let's find that legal request prioritizer, because we had an issue with that one just a second ago. So maybe I need to refine that prompt a little bit. If I go into the agent itself, this is the edit screen for that agent, and this is the prompt that I'm using. So I say if the task has anything to do with the contract, it should be given a high priority. So this is the one that in that example was not quite strict enough for that prompt. So let's say in this scenario, I wanted to actually say the word contract being in either the summary or the description is sufficient to be considered high priority. So maybe that's going to make it a little bit more robust, and maybe I won't have as many of those issues. So you can see it's kind of a process as you build these out of trial and error, and you would implement this in your project. And as those things happen, and maybe you have some issues that come up, you can refine this prompt over time. You can actually go even further than what we're seeing here and implement some Forge applications. So actually write some code behind this and have the code go out to other APIs and figure out how to prioritize things. This is kind of the most basic example of a robo agent. I just want to show you an intro to doing that so you can kind of see the context there. All right, so going back to our presentation, I want to show kind of this overall, summary of what robo agents with automation can allow us to do, along with just robo agents in general, but this one in particular is about automation. We'll kind of start with these slow and manual processes. So having to manually set the priority, manually search through all of my tickets to find things that are based on a particular case. Those things are now solved through a robo agent with automation. It has now created these low touch automated actions. So the before state is a manual issue categorization. So I manually have to do that. The after state is being able to automatically categorize and prioritize all of those. So I'm going to pass it back to Sam, talk a little bit about our upcoming webinars and classes. And once again, if you have any more questions about Rovo, Atlassian Intelligence, please leave those in the chat. We will be able to answer those questions in a second here if you have any of those. So leave those in the chat in the Q&A section, and we'll be able to address those.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. Yeah, just real quickly, just wanted to draw your attention to, we have 2 QR codes that will actually whisk you away to our LinkedIn profiles. So encourage you to befriend or link up on LinkedIn to myself and Joshua. And would love to get in contact with you if you have any other questions about what we've presented today, or any of the questions, or any questions about the services that we provide as a partner with Atlassian. And just to draw your attention to some upcoming events, you can see them on the screen. But we have an introduction to Confluence, a transforming HR teams through Atlassian tools integration, and then also successful governance using Atlassian tools. Those are just a few things that we have coming up. So just be aware of those. Anything that says sign up is technically a free event, and then buying tickets obviously would be for our boot camps, etc. So strongly encourage you guys to go out to our webinar and events and training site, and then also to strongly encourage you to go out to our YouTube channel. That's where this webinar, along with a whole slew of other ones that we've done historically, and ones that we'll be doing in the future, will also be uploaded there just for your general consumption. So please don't hesitate to navigate out to our YouTube channel as well. And with that, let's go ahead and see if we have any questions. Okay, I see. Yeah, so appreciate the presentation. Where can I learn more on kind of the Atlassian side of the house? Yeah, great question. So Atlassian, I like to draw folks' attention to this. There's this support documentation that I will throw in the chat here very quickly. And this is kind of like a get started kind of package with Atlassian Intelligence. It'll kind of go over a lot of the things that we were talking about today. There's some best practices, an overview of the intelligence features that probably goes a little bit more in depth than what we talked about today. But this would be a really good place to start on kind of your Atlassian Intelligence journey. And just, I suggest maybe interacting with some of the documentation here. And but please, again, as I mentioned, don't hesitate to reach out to Joshua or myself directly, either via email or via LinkedIn, if you have any other questions about Atlassian Intelligence or Rovo. Cool. All right, folks. Well, again, greatly appreciate your attention for this roughly an hour, and we thank you for joining. We hope you have a wonderful day, and please, again, don't hesitate to reach out to Joshua and I, and we'll see you guys again soon, hopefully. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.